I used to go in schools and talk to kids, and I had this conversation once, and we were all sitting in a circle, and I said to these kids, do you remember when someone tells you something so mean for so long they don't have to say it anymore, and you start saying it to yourself? I think every kid nodded, and that was what I was using to explain how internalized homo bi transphobia can affect people. It's not always people saying mean things directly. It kind of accumulates over your life, and it also includes people saying nothing, like, not included in history books, like you don't even exist. And so then it becomes internalized, and that can show up as shame or fear or anger. And it means that people try to hide who they are.
There was very much this hatred of queerness, this hatred of yourself. You couldn't come to terms with your own queerness because you hated it.
I started to believe what people were saying about me. And shame and guilt are extremely hard things to rewire in your nervous system and body.
And then, the whole world is bombarding you with like, be skinnier, be whiter, be this or that or.
For a lot of my early life, I didn't like the person in the mirror. That person in the mirror reflected back to me my own insecurities, my own uncertainty, my own confusion. And I couldn't see a way to make that work.
I, for many years, had severe internalized homophobia, and it manifested in a lot of different ways.
And I spent the early part of my 50s with that shame, with that feeling like there was something horribly wrong, right? That if anybody ever found out about this side of me, I would jump off a bridge, I would kill myself. I couldn't let anybody know about this shameful thing about me. That was born out of not being supported by my parents. Not only not being supported, but emotional, in my mind, emotional abuse that made me feel shameful of who I am.
I remember when I was single, looking for guys who were masculine or I don't like this term straight acting, but I know that that was something that I might have been looking for, and that is definitely internalized homophobia. It's if the idea of being more masculine is makes you a more powerful gay man to have that as your partner or sexual partner. And now I know better.
It manifested in not being true to myself, even when I was with a partner and we'd been together for like 10 years. It manifested in ways where I was in public and I would never even show the slightest bit of affection. It also manifested in a way where I didn't let other people be affectionate with me in general, because I felt like there was something intrinsically wrong with that. I also hung on to my hair for a lot longer than I ever wanted to, because it was like that, my last semblance of, being a straight woman, straight passing woman. When I am who I am, and looking back, I just think to myself, gosh, the years that you wasted with that internalized homophobia. Yeah, I'm glad those days are over.
And so we had a Marilyn Monroe lookalike contest. But I got into this white thing that I probably would just fit on one arm now, but then it fit just fine, and dolled myself all up, and then we had a whole little parade through the house. I walked into the washroom, and there was a full-length mirror in the washroom. I looked at the person in the mirror, and it was like there had been two rocks on my shoulders, and they just fell off. It was a physical revelation. I looked at this person in the mirror and thought, I like you. First time ever. Seeing that changed the course of what I did from then on. It just changed my life. I finally felt at home in my skin. I finally had a good relationship with my self-image.
It wasn't until I hit my 30s that I kind of was able to deal with it and to get over it, to not be ashamed, to not let the judgment of others affect me.
I found some good counselors and I was able to work it. I found some great friends, and when those kind of thoughts ever come back, it's always good to talk to somebody about it.
The amount of work it takes to undo all of that messaging is just exhausting. I feel like I'm finally starting to understand that I don't have to take all of this shit that I've learned to heart, and that I don't have to carry it with me all the time, and I don't have to, put those same expectations on people.
Therapy gives you an opportunity to unpack that and realize that you don't have to hate any aspect of yourself. I wouldn't be here today without therapy, and so many people wouldn't be here today without therapy, and so many people aren't here today because they didn't have access to therapy, especially queer people, because they didn't have access to a therapist that understood them.
I am now very proud of who I am.
For me, you get to a point where you're either going to be miserable for the rest of your life, or you're going to live your life to the fullest and be happy. Looking back at my younger self, like the fact that I've been able to come this far and finally be 100% comfortable in my own skin, young Amanda would be happy with how things have turned out.